All right, let's get into the defense for the Oklahoma Sooners against South Carolina. Really good performance from the defense and a solid performance. I don't think you could have really expected too much more from this defense from compared to I think from what you saw from this defense, if I can get my words to come out properly here, that was what you expected from them, and that's what you got. You couldn't really expect too much more than what you got there from the defense, and I was extremely happy with them. They were already the nation's best going into the Texas game, still one of the nation's best going into this game, but they absolutely dominated this South Carolina offense and put them into a frenzy nonstop. Specifically, I think even though Lenore Sellers had a lot of broken tackles and some things that you kind of wish that you could have done a little bit better there and could have gotten some sacks, could have gotten some tackles for loss. It was still huge. Really an elite defensive showing from this defense. They had 6 sacks. South Carolina quarterback Lenore Sellers, he was really kind of in that frenzy nonstop. There were so many times where he either gave up tackles for a loss or sacks or just couldn't even get back to the line because of the pressure in his face and how quickly it was getting up in his face. And that's the kind of stuff that you need from this Oklahoma defense is getting back there, wreaking havoc, especially on a guy like Lenore Sellers, who is extremely dangerous with his feet and what he can do in the run game, keeping him stagnant and going for negative yards on the day. That was exactly what you needed. But for Oklahoma, 13 tackles for a loss, tied for the nation lead in that category now. I'm not sure if maybe that's not the case, if it updated since last night whenever I wrote that down, but get back into the lead for most tackles for a loss in the nation. They limited South Carolina to just 224 yards of offense and only got over that 200-yard mark because of the garbage time, getting in there where you had third, fourth, several depth players in there playing. But the depth players, this is the difference for these depth players, is that you get them in there and you're playing your third string in garbage time. What happens a lot of times with defenses is you give up a garbage time touchdown, a garbage time field goal. It kind of inflates the score, maybe the stats a little bit for the losing team. And it kind of makes you feel like, man, why did we have to give that up? But this Oklahoma defense, they gave up some yards and definitely gave some of that up. And I believe there might have been a penalty to help them. Maybe not. I'm trying to remember that last drive correctly. But I know they gave up some yards, let them down into the red zone. But they don't give up, and they force a bad pass that ends up getting intercepted. So Oklahoma's first defensive interception on the day, excuse me. But it was a good one. It was good interception. They did have the interception by Taylor Wine, which we'll get to. Taylor Wine on the punt, so picking out the punt. But anyways, held the Gamecocks 3 of 15 on third downs. 3 of 15. That is, what is that? 1 for 5 ratio. One for 5. Every 5 they were getting 1. So 3 for 15 on third downs. That is the defense that this Oklahoma team expects to have, especially on third downs, that they did not show against Texas. And so, again, and I keep on bringing that game up because that's the game that's stuck in everybody's head as that's just who Oklahoma is. But I'm just trying to prove a point here that was not who Oklahoma is. It was a bad game, and that is not who Oklahoma is. Based on last night, I'm not sure that that's who Texas is either, but I do think that it was a good Texas team, regardless of what people are going to say about that. And Oklahoma just didn't perform their best. Entered the game as nation's leader in yards allowed at 193 yards per game, and really ultimately kept that standard. I know that goes up a little bit with 224 yards allowed per game, but against an SEC team, you're only allowing less than 250 total yards on offense. Against any Power 4 team, I'm going to take that every day of the week. If you're allowing less than 250 yards of total offense, less than 180 yards, passing, just that's what you're really searching for with a defense. And this is truly an elite defense. And I think anybody that wants to argue that is just out of their mind, completely out of their mind. Some of the standouts, Taylor Wine, starting off with the defensive end. Taylor Wine, a guy that was overlooked by many came in kind of as I mean, he still is kind of a depth player even. He's not even your main guy, your main starter, but he's one of the best on this defense, and he proved it yesterday with a lot of things that aren't going to go on the stat book. I think he just had an amazing game. He had 4 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss. He was the Oklahoma voice of the college football, Oklahoma at the voice of college football player of the week. We posted that on X and Instagram. Please go check that out. Give it a like. Share it with a friend. Share it to Taylor Wine too. Make sure that gets out to him, because I don't think we tagged him on either of those posts. But that way he knows that the fans are watching him. Fans see him, because again, he's a depth player that wasn't even expected to be on the field as much as he has been, and he's out there and he's doing the thing, and he's looking really good doing it. So Taylor Wine. Big time game for him. He recorded his first career interception, sniffing out that fake punt and getting the interception by the punter, Mason Love. So picking off South Carolina's punter there in the third quarter. Made a touchdown-saving tackle on 4th and goal early in the game. He was the one that stopped him there in the goal line stand to be able to keep South Carolina out of the end zone. Lenore Sellers is a slippery dude, too. So I thought they had him in the backfield. They missed him. I thought, he's getting into the end zone. And Taylor Wine makes the big stop. So huge for him there. I absolutely love to see that from him. He also made the touchdown touchdown saving tackle. It was later on in the game, and I didn't even put up my notes, but it was just a local product that continues to kind of prove himself and develop into a versatile weapon, especially out on that edge position. And he was asked kind of teasingly, I think it was Josh Calloway asked him kind of teasingly that you gonna try to switch over to tight end next year, and he says, we'll see. But no, truly an amazing weapon out there on defense, and had a big time game. Also, shout out to Jacoby Johnson. Gets out there on the field, gets some playing time, records an interception. The closing minutes kind of seal that victory. Even just kind of giving really good coverage really throughout the game. And so liked what I saw him kind of limiting some big plays in the past games. So getting out there on the field and doing something with it, getting yourself an interception. Love to see that from the big guy. Marcus Strong, another guy, a depth player, making some noise on this Oklahoma defense. And it wasn't just Marcus Strong making the big tackle to get the safety, but it was how he did it. Gets in there, just brings down Matt Fuller, who is just a big dude. He's a strong dude, hard to bring down. Brings him down in the end zone for the safety with, what was that, about 4-minute mark, somewhere in there. And it's Oklahoma's second safety of the season, both coming in SEC games, right? Yeah, because the one was against Auburn, I believe. It would have been their third too if there was one against Kent State that was just barely out of the end zone. So, anyways, it wasn't just Marcus Strong bringing down Matt Fuller in the end zone for the safety, but then it was the way that the defense celebrated with him there. The way that the defense came out and celebrated with him and got up there, jumping off the sidelines. Big time game for Marcus Strong, mainly because of that. It was just big time moment for him, big time moment for this defense, making a stand and putting points on the board as a defense. That's always what you're aiming to do, helping your offense out by putting a few extra points there. Love to see that. And then Kendall Daniels, another defensive, just a guy that I think was overlooked in a lot of ways in the transfer portal, and even by myself. I knew that Kendall Daniels was going to be a guy that you can look at coming into this season, and you were going to be able to look at him and say, hey, that was a good pickup for Oklahoma. I'm glad that they had an extra depth piece, but now he is the guy at Cheetah. And we could talk more about that. I know Kendall Dolby really wanted to see him get out there and play this year. So I know there's a lot of rumors going on with him. He didn't quit the team. He's now played in 4 games. Kendall Dolby has, and he's not going to play in any more games for the rest of the season. Most likely, it's not quitting on the team. He's healthy, but it's making a smart move for him. And so redshirting this season, we'll see what ends up happening towards the end. I think we can all make our own speculations on that. But when a guy like Kendall Daniels steps up and is playing your role to the extent that he is, you just kind of have to see the writing on the wall there. And I think that might be what it is. But Kendall Daniels, an amazing performance from him. 6 tackles, 1 sack, really set the tone early, had some big-time hits, and just some big-time moments for him, too. I think that he was huge. He had that one tackle for a loss on 3rd and goal from the 3-yard line, pushed them back out of just an easy run up the middle kind of play to now you're going to have to pass the ball, and then they end up stopping them there. And so it was really big. And then also Reggie Powers. I didn't put him down in my notes, but got to shout out Reggie Powers because that hit shouldn't have even been. What are we doing throwing the penalty flag there for targeting anyways? Just goes to show how bad the SEC officiating is. I'm glad that you have to review it because the review is just obvious. And, I think there was one of the commentators saying something about, he does lead in there with the helmet. He doesn't lead in with the helmet. Ducking your head down to the side is not leading in with your helmet. He ducks his head down to the side. The only reason why there was any kind of touching of Reggie Powers' helmet was because he hit him so hard that the receiver there ends up jarring his head forward and smacking into Reggie Powers. That was the only reason why there was any kind of contact to anyone's head at all, and it wasn't even close to targeting. I hate that. Hate targeting being called at all, especially when it's not deserving to be called. But that was a huge play for him. So love to see him out on the field. But truly for this defense, it was just a big time performance for the defense. The Sooners really made that critical 4th and goal stop from their own 5-yard line in the first quarter, preserving that 7-0 lead. Even just the goal line saying it set the tone for the rest of the afternoon. That's the kind of stuff that you need. That sets the tone for this defense. It sets the tone, tells the offense that you mean business. And so really good showing from this defense overall. And if we're being honest, kept them out of the end zone. If we're being honest, South Carolina got the touchdown, but there's several things you can look there on that play. It felt like there was the false start. There was 2 holding penalties on the left side of the field, who were ironically the 2 that false started. So not only did you have to false start to try to beat, the defensive line of Oklahoma, but then you also had to hold on to them. And then the referee sets a little screen there, gets in the way. That kind of also affected that play, I think. But there's a lot of things to look there, and I'm not complaining. I don't care. They got the 7 on the board, sure. But ultimately, really good performance from this Oklahoma defense. Solid performance, I would say elite performance from this Oklahoma defense against South Carolina. All right, going over to special teams, I think Tate Sandell, the kicker, matched his career long with a 55-yard field goal in the 3rd quarter. Big-time field goal for him. Extended his streak to 12 consecutive field goals made. So he started off, missed his first one, and has made 12 straight since. So everyone was like, "Ooh, man, we don't have a kicker anymore." And he's like, "No. Hey, I just had to work off the rust, guys. I got a little nervous. That was my first kick as a Sooner. All right, give me a break." He steps out there and hits 12 straight since then. Really provided a lot of crucial points when the offense is stalled out so far this season. He's giving Oklahoma those points when you need them. And last season, Oklahoma didn't have that. We didn't get to see that as Oklahoma fans. So definitely need it.